Shipwrights of the North Sea, done by a company known for worker placement games. There is some worker placement in here. There's drafting, there's cards. If you're wondering what's all in the game, check out the link above for our unboxing. However, what you're getting right now is, after the break, a brief teach and then my thoughts. So take it away, musical intro. So here's a brief how to play for Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. I am basically set up. The only difference is typically you would have markers here for the other players and colors. A two-player, you'd have theirs and a dummy color. Other player counts, you'd have all of their discs. You move a spot on the track based on your starting hut. Ships go to the top, huts go, or any buildings go to the bottom. Your laborers off to the side. In a 3 and up game, you are going to start with 6 cards in your hand. Draft 2, pass, draft 2, pass. Then you have 2 left. In a 2-player, you're going to have 5. Draft 2, pass, everyone draws 1. Draft 2, pass, everyone draws 1. Draft 2, discard 1. The cards, there are 5 different cards in the base game, and then I'm going to go over the cards that come in the promo pack. You have your ship cards and your craftspeople. You'll notice that they have a blue border on the bottom. These are the only 2 cards that go on your board. The craftspeople have to go on the board, or they can be put under a building, which I'll go over in a second. Before they can be used, you can't just discard them from your hand. Buildings. Buildings go under your board and give you a worker placement spot along the bottom. You have townsfolk. Townsfolk can either be used for their ability on the bottom, or you can spend a gold to put them under a location, and then you can activate that ability when you go to that location. You have Jarls. Jarls, it's a gold to put them under a building, and then you'll get the points at the bottom and move yourself up on the tracks as depicted at the bottom. Then the last one you have, which is from the promo pack, which are heroes. When you draft a hero, you'll put them off to the side of the board. You'll have access to their power throughout that round that you grab them. At the end of the round, they are discarded. Those are the different types of cards. Now, how do you use these and what are they used for? So on the cards, there is a cost in the upper left corner. Same thing for the ships. You have a cost. For the ships, you need to spend this many of the supplies and resources, which includes workers, and then have craftspeople that have those symbols on their cards. The first one is their primary. It's free. If you want to use their secondary, it costs you a coin. Typically, if they're on your board, you have to discard them. However, if you spend a gold to put them on a location, you will always have access to that and don't need to discard it. However, if you want to use their secondary, you still have to spend the coin. So once you build these, the ships go up top, the buildings go at the bottom, and you'll move your marker on the tracks, the designated ones on the side. The other thing that all cards can be used for is a discard effect. There's a little red box here with an X with stuff above it. You just discard that and then get those resources. In this instance, 2 coins, a worker, a wood, a gold, 2 coins, or a card. So how a turn will work is you'll reveal the round card. This has some information on it. The first part of this information is if you're playing a 2-player solo game, you'll move the dummy color that many spots on the track. This icon is for a 3 and up game, the way that you're going to be passing cards when you're drafting. And this banner with points here is used in the solo version. That's how many points you're going to have to score at the end to win. You're going to add up all 5 cards because this is played over 5 rounds. The next thing this depicts is the trade. So you can buy wood for 2 coins, wool for 1 coin, rock for 3. These are all varied. On the back of this card gives you a reminder that you can always turn a wood, a wool, and a rock in to get a piece of gold. A gold can be spent for any of those 3, and at the end of the game, gold is worth a point. So you'll reveal the round card. You will then draft all of your cards. After that, simultaneously, everyone will take actions. You have to play all cards in your hand. whether you put the blue cards on your board and build the buildings, or just play them for their discard effect or any abilities they have on them. Once all of you have taken your turns and your hands are empty, you will then gain income. Income is depicted on a few different things. You have this little moon and stars. That's what your income is. Your boats will give you income. And then if you get these blue cards, you will get income. After you gain all of your income, you will then distribute your hero cards. You're going to look up here. Whoever's furthest on the red track would get this hero, furthest on the blue, furthest on the yellow. If you do not end up with one of the heroes, you will grab Randy here, who's got that power. When you get them, you put them next to you, and you have them available for the next round. As you're moving on this tracks, you'll see there's these icons. Whenever you pass the red icons, you're going to grab a top settlement card. This allows you to raid this. What you're going to do is you're going to look to see how much or how far you are on this track, either 4, 7, or 10, and then you have to discard that many workers, and then you'll get the spoils at the bottom. Your blue cards, you can either immediately grab what's on top and just set it face down next to you because certain things might give you points for those, or you can attach it to the bottom of a ship. So if all your ships are full, you'd have to discard it, and this gives you more income. If you pass down on this yellow track, you can upgrade your boat, your labor, or your hut. If you upgrade your boat, it's now worth 1 point, give you 2 workers. Your laborer is worth 2 points, and his ability is better. And then the hut will get something better. So this is spend a coin to get a gold. When you flip it over, you get a gold and a coin, and it's worth 1 point. What does the laborer do? Well, as you are building your ship, say you need one of these symbols, the base side of labor is you discard a card and spend a gold, and then he acts as any symbol. When you flip him over, you just have to spend a gold. You'll play over 5 rounds. After 5 rounds, you'll get into endgame scoring. For endgame scoring, you're going to look at a few different things. You're going to see what points your longships have given you. If any of your buildings have points on them, they all don't, but some of them do. Any recruited Jarls will give you points. If you've gotten here near the end, you'll get points from the progress tracks. Any victory points on any heroes you end up with at the end of the game, and your laborer cards. And then you'll have counted these 2 when you did your buildings and your ships. And then gold is worth 1 victory point. I will say, for the gold, what happens is at the end of the 5th round, you have one last chance to do any conversions you need to do by any income you would have gained in that 5th one to get as much gold as you can for points. Most points wins the game. That was a brief overview of the game. Let's go hear my thoughts on the game. Alright, so that is basically how to play Shipwrights of the North Sea. So what are my thoughts? What are my 2 cents? Well, for my 2 cents, we're going to be going over components, the experience of 2-player, the negatives, the theme, and how smooth, the smoothness of it, the gameplay, the mechanisms, that stuff. Alright, let's start with components. So for components, the cards felt nice. If you've played a game by this company, you know their components are well done. The wood resources are the typical ones that look like little wood and stone and wool, and the shape, the feel, they feel solid, they don't feel chintzy, they're good quality, they're painted well, all of that. Those different shapes do add a nice touch to everything. I will say we got the metal coins because why not get metal coins? However, the other ones were punchboard and they felt nice, but the metal coins are just thick, solid, durable. If you can pick yourself up a pack for the North Sea games, really you only need 1 pack and then just flop them between all the North Sea games. We got a pack for each game though, because why not? I mean, metal coins. Also, the art for that component. As you can see, it is the normal Miko art that you get in these games, and we enjoy it. It adds that little kind of whimsical goofiness, so you're not getting too in-depth and serious with it. It just adds that bit of whimsy that we like. My one concern with this, it's a minor thing, is that board where you put all the different decks of cards. I know you can kind of put the decks wherever you want, but it would have been cool if maybe they would have put a little faded art of each thing there so you can put them down. Maybe they're leaving room for an expansion, I'm not sure, but I think that would have just been cool, just be able to have somewhere where you put them and you know where they can go, and you can ignore it if you didn't want to. Again, just a little gripe. It just seemed a little plain when everything else is just kind of colorful and bright. All right, so that was components. What about the experience at 2 players? So now typically it's hard for us to find drafting games that we can do at 2 players because they usually do some form of weird dummy hand or weird way of drafting this and adding this, but then moving that and then doing this over there. What I liked is this one didn't do that craziness. It's instead of drawing 6 cards, you draw 5. You draft 2, you pass those 3 to the next person, they draw a card. They draft 2, you pass it over, get it, you draw a card. So it's simply just make sure you draw a card between each pass. You still end up with 6 cards. Really quick, really simple. And the one thing this does do at 2 players that we weren't a fan of is, as I said, you each have a disc on that track. In a 2-player game, you're going to put a dummy player color there and move the track along based on those cards you flip over. So just the random moving that could take away one of the heroes from you. We weren't a big fan of that. We did try a game without it. We did enjoy that better. So that's kind of how we play. But in the rules, it does have you moving that around. And we just overly weren't a fan of that at the 2-player experience. But outside of that, the 2-player rules, basically just like the other one, except that slight change in the drafting mechanism, which really, compared to other drafting games we've done the 2-player mechanisms of, not bad. We never messed up. We've messed up in a couple others. We're like, wait, why do I have more cards than you? Why do I have more of this? But this one didn't have that issue. All right, couple negatives that we do have is I would have liked to be able to get resources a little quicker. There are ways of getting them, but like the deck of cards is massive, so if you aren't getting those buildings or aren't getting the right cards, it's hard to make sure you get the stuff to put out those boats, because getting out certain boats with the income is how you can get stuff, or getting out the buildings that's going to give you that extra wood, that extra sheep, or the wool, whatever. You need to try and make sure you get those cards. So if you're not getting those and your opponent is, then they're getting all these resources, and you're just over here trying to figure out how to do stuff and get stuff around stuff. So that is one issue I have, is I wish the resource gaining was a little bit easier, because if you only have 6 cards and you want to try and put out 1 or 2 of them, but each one might only give you 1 resource, you're going to have a hard time getting those resources. Next thing is, there is some AP, at least the Bryde had some AP, so there was times that I'd go through my turn, get done, look at her, and she's only halfway through. So there really wasn't much for me to do except sit there and stare at her. Other groups that have a closer playing style and playing time probably won't have that issue, but that was one that we had, with her trying to work out exactly how she wanted to do stuff, in what order to get to stuff she wanted, and trying to walk through all the steps did slow her down quite a bit. So as I said, I kind of just sat there starting to play on my phone, doing various other things. But again, that's not a flaw of the game. That's more of the players. But it is one of the issues that I did have, is that trying to get those cards laid out in that way. As I said, as with most card games with the stack, there is quite a bit of luck. There was a couple times where neither of us was getting buildings right away, so we both kind of had these quick turns and didn't really feel like we weren't progressing anywhere. We were kind of just spinning our wheels, so then we had to really try and make it up as the game went along. So there is that luck element that's there with any game that's got a big stack of cards. Outside of that, that really was it for the negatives. The theme. The theme is, yes, I have the box upside down. Shipwrights in the North Sea Redux is set in the early years of the Viking Age, circa 800 AD. As Viking shipwrights, players compete to construct the greatest fleet on the North Sea. Players must collect oak, wool, and iron, as well as getting other craftspeople on board to help. So that is the theme. You do get it some, because you are obviously collecting the resources to build the boats. You're trying to get the craftspeople with the proper symbols to build the boats. I just don't know for us if it really influenced many decisions. We really were more just looking at optimizing, getting as many resources as we could to do other things. In fact, sometimes I wasn't even focusing on building boats until the last round or two. I focused more on let's build up the village, let's get some Jarls in there, let's get some village people, let's just kind of get stuff built up, and then I can focus on the boats. So it wasn't so much about building the boats for me, it was more almost like trying to get maybe some kind of engine building or some kind of resource production chain going to be able to get those boats at the end, which in theory then is still about doing the boats, but I don't know if we really focused as much on the boats as the theme would convey to us. But I will say the art, the components, all that did help you get into the theme though. Like the boats were all drawn well. There's a few different types, and then you have the same, so you could get a fleet of all the same type of ship if you wanted. So it did really, the art did convey that. All right, then smoothness. How well do the mechanics flow together? How smooth is the game? I personally say it is fairly smooth. Bryde did have a couple of issues. As I said, on that one board, you can only put people who have the blue border. And she kept wanting to also put the brown border people up there, maybe trying to save them for the next round. I could be like, no, it's only the blue people. So maybe if there was a way they could have put some kind of blue banner, but it wouldn't have looked quite right. So I can kind of understand that, because that art would have just really been out of place and looked wonky. But that was one of the things that she had a problem with. And then the other thing is so you can discard the villagers or anyone for that little resource. Well, another thing that you can do with the villagers is you can just play them for their ability, even if you don't put them on a building. So sometimes you go to discard them, wanting that resource, and completely forget that you can do the power instead. So basically having a way of playing it to the discard, but then discarding it, that one every now and then was getting us. So when she'd go to discard, I'm like, wait, do you want to discard or do you want to play it for its power? So that slight hiccup there could mess with some people's minds. The heroes going back and forth also at the end of each round kind of caused you have to keep making sure you still had them. Like, you know, you're planning for the next round, you're like, all right, I got this person. Then they get taken away from you because you weren't paying attention to the board. All right, well, now I got to switch gears because now you lost that person. Or it's that type of thing where the heroes go back and forth, which thematically makes sense because they want to go to the town that's enticing them more. But for us, just kind of, once you get that hero, the fact that you can lose them when you're kind of banking on them. And then if you don't have the stuff to be able to move yourself on the track again, but your opponent all of a sudden just blitzes themselves out, or in the two-player game, oh, look, that one card flipped over, that caused the dummy player to go over and take that hero from you, did kind of get on her nerves quite a bit, and didn't get on mine as much because I mainly had heroes that I wasn't even using, but her losing the one that helps you, or basically you can put out a boat for one less resource, which is kind of really nice when it's hard to get resources. Well, when she had that one, but then I took it from her the one time, and then, yeah, that derailed her plans for the next round. But overall, we did find that flowed smooth and made sense outside those couple of hiccups, the playing of the cards, moving stuff around, playing the resources, getting stuff out. It did all flow. At no point did we go, well, why would that happen? Or why would we do that? Or why would that happen? It did flow. So overall, I'm going to give it 4 golden rings out of 5, which you'll see down below. It'll be like ring, 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 ring. And I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, go ahead and make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. Ring the bell so you can be alerted to when we do even more reviews, maybe a solo play of this game, other solo plays, unboxings, a wide variety of videos of which we produce. And if you want to just hear me talk because you love the sound of my voice, I have a podcast that you can find where most podcasts are indeed found. So until next time, let's get shipping.